The funny thing about becoming a real estate investor is that most people don't believe the beginning of your story. They're fine with the part where you're financially free or sitting in a big office talking about deals. But the beginning, that's where the doubt creeps in. For me, it started with just $9,000. That's it, and honestly, even that number was a stretch. Half of it came from a tax return. The rest came from what my wife and I call penny pinching months where the fun budget was literally $20. We were counting quarters just to see how close we were to a down payment. But that little pile of money, that $9,000, changed absolutely everything. The biggest shift didn't even happen in my bank account. It happened in my mindset. See? When I first started getting exposed to real estate investing back, when I was working as a videographer, I remember hearing my mentor talk about the power of a basement apartment, house hacking, he'd call it. Someone else pays part of your mortgage. And suddenly homeownership isn't this crushing financial burden. It becomes leverage. It becomes fuel. But of course, the outside world didn't get it. When I told people I was looking for a house with a rentable basement in Utah, the reactions were polite, but discouraging. Yeah, that's probably not possible. I doubt you'll find anything in your price range. That's the theme with real estate. Most people think unlikely means impossible. And if you're not careful, you start believing it too. But I wasn't willing to settle. I kept looking. And eventually, luck met preparation. I was talking to Tyler, one of the guys in my circle, and I asked him how to tighten my search. And he just casually says, "I've actually got a house I could sell you." I remember trying not to react too quickly, thinking, don't look too excited. Don't blow this. And then he goes, "It has a basement apartment. Don't know how you feel about that." How I felt about that? That was the entire dream. So I ran the numbers. I looked at the down payment. I looked at what that basement could rent for. And that house, this house, I wasn't even supposed. Define became the foundation of everything I've built since. We bought it for $280,000, but 3% down, which was that $9,000 we worked so hard for. And suddenly, we weren't just homeowners. We were investors. The basement covered more than half of our mortgage. And for the first time, I felt like money was working with me instead of against me. Now, if you listen to the online critics, they'll tell you that's impossible today. And yeah, it's harder. Markets shift. Prices rise. Utah is not what it was. But here's the truth. The numbers don't have to be identical. The principles still are. Find a place where a tenant subsidizes your costs. Reduce your living expenses so you can save more. Own the appreciation. Leverage it when the time comes. That's exactly what I did. 3.5 years later, the market had gone wild. We decided to sell, and when the dust settled, we walked away with about $190,000. From $9,000 into $190,000. I'm telling you right now, I didn't feel smart. I didn't feel like some real estate genius. I just felt stunned. I remember sitting there, staring at the closing statement, thinking, how did this happen? How is this even real? And that lump sum, it's the moment where most people mess up. When you see that many zeros in your bank account for the first time, you think about paying off debts. You think about trips. You think about buying nice things you've never let yourself buy before. And trust me, I thought about all of it. But I also heard my mentor's voice in my head, loud and very passionate. Whatever you do, do not blow your shot. Don't waste this. Roll it into another deal. Then another. Then another. So that's what I did. And that decision alone is why I'm here today. That first deal wasn't the peak. It was the spark. The money from that sale went straight into more properties, more doors, more leverage, more appreciation. And as the rents grew and the values climbed, my freedom grew right alongside it. Today, I'm building my dream home, something I couldn't even picture in my early 20s. Something that felt reserved for other people. It's valued at around $1.3 million. And it all traces back to that one basement apartment and the willingness to live a little differently than everyone else. Because here's the part nobody likes to hear. The sacrifice is real. My wife and I have literally shared walls with tenants our entire marriage, 16 years. Crying babies upstairs, footsteps over our heads. kids jumping off furniture, and us trying to keep the noise down so the family below wouldn't hear. But delaying comfort gave us options later that most people never get. Real estate rewards patience. It rewards discipline. It rewards people who are willing to give up a little now in exchange for a whole lot later. If I had spent that first $9,000 on a vacation, if I had wasted that $190,000 paying off student loans, if I had chosen comfort over opportunity, none of this would have happened. And this is the part I really want to leave you with. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need a six-figure income. You don't need perfect timing or special privileges. What you need is one good deal, consistency, and the willingness to delay gratification while your investments grow. Everything else you can learn along the way. I started with $9,000. My mentor started with $3,000. If you're willing to play the long game, this path is still wide open. And if you want the blueprint, the actual steps someone like me would take. If I woke up in your situation, there are resources out there. You don't have to figure this out alone. I didn't. And if I hadn't been surrounded by people who knew the game, I never would have found that first house. Your environment matters. Your mindset matters. Your next decision matters. Because one day, that starter home with the noisy tenants and the tight budget might just be the thing that launches you into millionaire status. And trust me, when that day comes, you'll look back and realize the basement walls you shared with tenants weren't walls at all. They were stepping stones.